All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet, live here on this Thursday. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button. Great SEC podcast is one that you need to be following. Is called That SEC Podcast. It's hosted by Michael Bratton. He's done a great job of getting this out, man. I've seen him all around. He's got a great following. You can check the SEC podcast out on Apple and Spotify. You can also check him out on thatsecpodcast.com. Is the website to find the podcast, and he's joining us here on this Thursday morning to talk about the SEC weekend. Mike, good morning. How are you, bro?
Doing great, Jordy. It's an honor to be here, and my only goal is to get you incensed that Harold Perkins is not playing enough snaps for LSU.
Well, it's a beautiful thing because Brian Kelly was asked yesterday about it on the teleconference and said that Ojulari and Perkins going to be on the field together in the SEC or in the LSU base defense package. So we're all good, Mikey. What's a storyline that you're watching for this LSU Alabama game coming up on Saturday night?
Man, it's all about Alabama on the road, and this is not a one-year deal. This is a two-year deal, Jordy. So this is more than just a game or two. But Alabama has struggled on the road time and time again, going into Death Valley, night game. I have been there for a night game at LSU. It is incredible. If that crowd plays a factor in this game, if Alabama's having all these turnovers, if they're having penalties is what really killed them against Tennessee and Texas. And, you know, we're sitting here, we're watching Bryce Young. He may be the best. I don't want to put him as the best quarterback ever in college, but he's up there. And he is making all these plays, yet they're losing to Tennessee. Yet they nearly lost to Texas. Imagine if he just plays a B game against LSU. I think them Fighting Tigers got an outstanding opportunity to knock off Alabama. And a bigger picture, what does this look like if Nick Saban loses 2 regular season games with a third possible at Ole Miss? I certainly think Alabama will beat Ole Miss, but who knows? If they drop 2 in a row and 3 out of 4 in the SEC, maybe seeing the end of the Nick Saban era here.
Oh, easy, Mikey. Easy on us over here, bro. That's football porn talk down here in Baton Rouge. You can get them going on Bama Week here. What have you seen of LSU in first year under Brian Kelly? Or just what's your feeling about Kelly leading the program now?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people initially, kind of a head scratcher. I didn't see the fit, but heck, Coach O was the greatest fit of all time, and it didn't work out. So fit is overrated. He's done a masterful job from week 1 to where they're at now. Never in my life. I thought they'd be 4th, maybe 5th best team in the SEC West this year. They're playing for the title. So he's doing an outstanding job. I've said time and time again, I think Jaden Daniels, he may not be the best player. I'm not trying to put him up for the Heisman or anything, but I certainly would make the case he's the most valuable player in the SEC to his team this year. You remove Jaden Daniels from this roster, I don't know what they are. Maybe a 3-win team, maybe a 4-win team. He is outstanding. I think Brad Davis, they rarely do they honor position coaches for Assistant Coach of the Year, the Broyles Award, but I think Brad Davis deserves some respect for what he's doing with that offensive line. Again, it was a train wreck week 1. It is now a strength with 2 freshman offensive tackles. It's rare in the SEC. You got 1 true freshman playing at the tackle position in the SEC. LSU's got 2. So just a masterful job. And we haven't even hit on Matt House, who I loved what he did at Kentucky. I thought that was a heck of a hire. Tennessee tried to get him, but they couldn't a year ago. He's one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, too. So the coaching staff's getting an A+ in my opinion.
Breaking news real quick before we get back to Michael Bratton here from SEC Podcast, that SEC Podcast. 4-star offensive tackle DJ Chester has just committed to LSU. He will be in this weekend on a visit for the Bama game, but the offensive line picks up another one as this is back-to-back classes that LSU is doing a great job on the trail. You mentioned this year's offensive line in the matchup, specifically Emory Jones, Will Campbell going up against Will Anderson and Dallas Turner. That's going to be a huge part of this game. Mike, tell me what you've seen from Turner and Anderson here this year and how they're playing going into this matchup on Saturday night.
Yeah, honestly, like everybody else, I was touting Will Anderson as the best player in college football all off season. He was an animal last season, but I don't think he's quite lived up to that billing this year. It's been a little bit of a disappointment, but I still think that matchup favors Alabama going into this matchup. It's interesting, Jordy. We got Tennessee, Georgia, which I think is going to be an incredibly high-scoring game, and then the night game, Alabama, LSU. I think it's going to be a little bit of low-scoring game, and I think it's because both defensive fronts are going to be at a major advantage going up against both offensive lines, because certainly I've not seen much from Alabama's offensive line either. So this is going to be a real struggle here. This is where the game is going to be determined, the line of scrimmage. That's why you love to see LSU adding these linemen. Brian Kelly knows it's got to be the line of scrimmage. I think LSU is going to be at a big-time advantage when Alabama has the ball, and when LSU has the ball. I think Alabama's going to be at an advantage with Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, and company.
All right, take me over to Athens. This is going to be a huge matchup with number 1 Tennessee in town taking on Georgia. Both teams undefeated. SEC Eastern Division crown. It feels like on the line. I know there's still part of the regular season left, but it feels like whoever wins this game is going to Atlanta. What are you watching here? How do you like about this one as the buildup is ratcheting up?
Yeah, it's all about first downs for Tennessee, Jordy, getting that offensive train going. I mean, literally, if Tennessee gets a first down, whoever they're playing, they score that possession, whether it's a touchdown or a field goal. And more often than not, it's a touchdown. Because once they get that ball rolling, the pace they run with, the tempo, you can't substitute against it. So it's critical. Georgia has got to win first downs, not give up yardage to Tennessee's offense on that early down situation, because once that ball gets rolling, it's too late. But going into the season, I didn't think Tennessee had any shot at knocking off Alabama, knocking off Georgia. But what we have seen this season, that's what you got to go off, what you're actually seeing. I think Tennessee is the best team in the country. Now, maybe not the most talented, but they're playing at the highest level. And even last week against Kentucky, we're seeing the defense making some big-time plays. The defense is playing above water. I think the Josh Heupel has elevated every player on that roster. And I like Tennessee to go on the road and beat Georgia.
Wow.
I think Tennessee may go undefeated here. I mean, clearly, if they beat Georgia, they should go undefeated. I do think it's going to be a very, very competitive game. I'm not saying they're going to run Georgia out of the stadium or anything, but I'm thinking 38-35, 42-38, something like that. Georgia's offense should be able to do basically whatever they want to Tennessee's defense. So it really comes down to which quarterback do you trust more. I realize Stetson's got, MVP in the national championship, MVP of the Orange Bowl, but I still think Hendon Hooker's playing at a much higher level right now. He seems unfazed by just about anything. So give me Tennessee on the road to win outright.
Wow. Were you in Knoxville for Alabama game?
I was. I couldn't get in the stadium, though, Jordy. I mean, I've been working my connections all week. But, yeah, I got to go on set with Paul Feinbaum on Friday, so that was a real treat. I got to watch the game with some family. But, yeah, it was quite a scene up there, no doubt.
So is this Tennessee run, is it built to last? Is this beyond Hendon Hooker? Is this kind of lightning in a bottle for Tennessee, or is this something that can turn into a consistent winner in Knoxville?
Yeah, I mean, I think that remains to be seen because Hendon Hooker is so important to what they're doing. Now, they do have a 5-star quarterback committed, so, if they hit on him, certainly, I think they could potentially keep this run going. But I don't anticipate a freshman to come in there and do what Hendon's doing now. So, yeah, I think this is not going to be sustained necessarily. Where Tennessee, they are doing well in recruiting. They're getting some receivers in there, but kind of going back to LSU, just landed an elite offensive lineman. That's where I see Tennessee is still struggling, offense and defensive line recruiting. And we all know that's where it got to be your bread and butter in the SEC. Tennessee has got to step it up in that aspect. I'm surprised, Jordy, to be honest with you, that their offensive and defensive line is holding up as well as it is, because they don't have many star players at either position this year yet. The coaching staff is getting a ton out of these guys. I thought going into that Alabama game, the offensive line would be at a major disadvantage. They didn't even sack Hendon Hooker. So, yeah, I think Tennessee is here to stay, but I'm not sitting here saying they're going to be winning East championships after East championships or anything like that.
Who do you think's next at Auburn?
Man, I would love to see Lane Kiffin. I think Lane Kiffin is really just working that to get a raise there at Ole Miss once again,
Yeah, I agree.
which he has deserved based on what he has done. But I would love that just for my business. Have an SEC coach jump into another school is always good for business. Deion Sanders is a name you hear. I mean, there's certainly questions marks with Deion. I get it. But where Auburn is lacking is talent acquisition, the portal, recruiting. There's not a coach in college football that's a bigger name that these players want to play for than Deion Sanders. And even if he's a disaster to the level of, say, Chad Morris, which I don't think he would be, but even if he was, I think he would attract enough talent to where the next coach could succeed. And we saw that with Sam Pittman. I mean, Chad Morris, the worst SEC coach I've ever seen. But what did he do? He recruited guys like KJ Jefferson, Treylon Burks, a lot of those defensive stars they had last year. You get a competent coach in there, they can coach them up. So, those are kind of the obvious names. I think not that Mark Stoops is some great coach, but I think if Auburn made a run at Mark Stoops, and I'm not one of these people who annually says Mark Stoops got to go, I think they could get him because they're losing their quarterback. I think he's kind of hit a ceiling there at Kentucky. I think that's kind of evident this year. You always want to stay ahead of getting fired. And I'm not saying he's going to get fired, but if they win 7 this year, they win 7 again next year, I think that fan base is going to start to get frustrated with Mark Stoops. So it may be time for him. And the only way he would jump is to a program that you could win an SEC, that you can win a national championship. And we've seen Auburn, you can do that. So I keep my eye on Mark Stoops as well.
That SECpodcast.com is the website. You can check him out on Twitter at Michael W. Bratton. He's SEC Mike. Got a great podcast, bro. Great product. Appreciate you jumping on with us. This is a good college football weekend, man. Everybody will be paying attention to the sport. We'll catch up again soon.
Absolutely. And I didn't even make fun of Jimbo and his soon-to-be 1-5 SEC record. So thanks for having me on.
You got it, man. See ya. There he is, Michael Bratton, checking in SEC Mike this morning as he checks in. Check out that website at that SECpodcast.com and check him out on Twitter to catch up with everything that's going on there.
His teeth are very white. His teeth were, I think he got a ring light.
Yeah, definitely got a ring light.
That's the way to do it.
Make your teeth whiter?
It makes everything a little bit brighter.
They're very wet.
What? Has anybody started the Urban Meyer to Auburn yet?
No, I don't think
Can
so.
I
We
plant
can start it here.
Can I play? Yeah, can we plant our flag there?
I mean, Herb's definitely dirty enough to jump in with Auburn. Auburn's definitely dirty enough to jump in with Herb.
Arson, you can leave. Leave that assistant, though, before you leave the door.
That's right.
She can stay.
All right, we're going to talk to our friend Zach Ewing next here as he's handing out winners from The Advocate by lines provided by our friends over at Caesars Sportsbook. We'll be back to close out this Wednesday. Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
Tennessee LSU Moneyline Parlay.
Thursday.